Good afternoon, everyone. So welcome to another, I guess that should be, this is going to be the last session, the last class for my session. So finally we came to the end. And today actually it's going to be relatively light because there will be no new topics today. But today I'm going to show you that, I use this a lot in my work. So I'm going to show you two examples of how I use Panda and Python in order to solve, some of my problems, okay? And maybe you can kind of, see how you would do this in your project. It will be similar things in terms of, using the tools and the process, data cleaning, data processing, visualization, things like that, okay? So today we're gonna go with this one right here. Okay, and as usual, you are going to download the zip file, expand, decompress it, put it somewhere that you can open in VS Code, and then just look at the file and see if you can run some of the imports. Okay, so while you do that, I like to quick announcement. Okay, so first we are going to have final exam. Okay, and I make an announcement that we are going to do an online exam, but in the exam room, no, not at home. So everybody come to the exam location, which is at the cafeteria, second floor. Let me check. I don't want to announce the wrong date. Okay, I had it in here. So according to so it's gonna be March 23rd at noon, okay, at the second floor cafeteria building. So everyone has to be at the exam location, but also bring your laptop, okay? It's gonna be online, okay? So I will provide the electrical outlet so you can, keep your laptop charged. If anybody have problem with your laptop, you should contact me as soon as possible. So then I can arrange, alternative laptops for you or I don't know, fix your computer before the exam time. Like if you cannot run Python for some reasons before the exam, you should, check if your computer is ready. So, if you can run your project, that should be okay. Usually I don't do anything more than what I taught you, okay? That will be the first announcement. The second announcement is, I talked to you all. So thank you for, schedule with me on time. So last week I spoke to all of you. So it was great. And then I look forward to see the final products. And again, you can talk to me this week and then choose to present next week. Or if anybody, want to finish it quickly, I don't mind. This week you can get it done. Usually it's just a matter of, I think you should not take you more than a couple hours, I believe, right? In order to finish it, seems like, if you know what you're doing, I don't think it shouldn't take you more than a couple hours. So, if you can set aside the time to present to me this week, that will be even better, right? All right, but no pressure here. And, I already have a lot of presentation this week, so if you guys want to do next week, I don't mind too, okay? But I like to get things done quicker. Okay, so I'm going to do, again, I'm going to download this one just to make sure, not this one. Okay, so processing example, okay? And there's only one file here because I don't make it into an exercise, just examples, okay? Example. Okay, and I will open this in VS Code as usual. This one right here. Examples. Okay, so here we are going to have C1 and C2. So make sure that you have this file available along with the data folder too. Okay, we need that too. Okay. Okay. Just make sure. Okay, just give me 1 second. I need to kind of set up my laptop. I forgot my iPad Note, so kind of need to do this. Okay, anybody need some help? So you should see if you can run it too, okay? All right, so let's go to the first example, shall we? If you are curious, you can also see the diagram that I made from the diagram over here too. If you want to see the zoom in version. Right? Okay. So the first example, it's something that close to what you are, I guess relates to you, because I'm I have to grade students a lot, and I have to make sure that I give them the correct grades, okay? For class like this, it's pretty easy. I just do things by hand. I don't use Python all the time. I use Excel too. For a class like this, I usually just use Excel because not many people, right? But the grading example that I have is actually another class from the Thai curriculum where I have 200 students, okay? And that's become problematic if I need to do it, not by hand. That will be really, really hard, okay? So I will use Python to help me make sure that I give the student the correct grades so that I can kind of upload it to, the registrar website or in Mango in order to, present them with the right person with the right grades, okay? So the goal is to do something like this, okay? So first of all, I want to, I have 3 data with me right here, okay? This is actually real, okay? So first of all, I have the list of student name. So this one I can download from the registrar office. And you can imagine that I have access to student ID and their first name, last name, and so on. And again, this is the real data, but I changed the student ID to be something jumble so that you cannot relate it back to the real person. Okay. So this one, I call it the roster. So roster is the list of people. Okay. The next one is I have students working in groups, okay, and this is the real name of the groups, okay. So usually I have a couple, I don't know, maybe 60 groups in total, okay, and then I, grade them. So I want to match the groups, okay, so I give the score to the groups, and the group has multiple members. I want to match the student ID from here, okay, to the score over here, or actually the other way. I want to put the score that I give in terms of the groups, okay, and then put it back into each of the students so that I can report this to the registrar correctly, and I can even announce it in Mango, okay, if I want to. So, I cannot go from the group to the student directly because I need to know, which member, like which students belong to which groups. And I do have that information. It's listed in here. And this one is actually from Mango Canvas, okay? If you go to Mango Canvas, then there will be a system where you can create a group, and then you can add yourself to that group. So this is done by the student. So I don't monitor this process, okay? All I did is just I download the end results where I have the student ID, and then I see, who has a group name. Okay, keep in mind that. So So with this 3 information, then, you know, it becomes quite tedious if I have to do it by hand. So keep in mind, I have about 200 students. I have about 60 groups. So doing by hand will start to get super tedious, okay? But by using Python and Panda, you know, I can relatively be sure that I can do this fast, and I don't make mistakes. I think that's the most important thing. I don't want to make mistakes. That will be a problem, okay? All right, so there are some complications that I want to show you before I go, okay? So I keep the color consistent, so the roster is always going to be blue, okay? Student group, you know, the group member is going to be in green, and then also the grade is going to be in purple, orange, okay? All right, so the strategy, it's right here, right? As you can imagine that if you have 3 things on a separate files, what you need to do is to join them. Okay, so my strategy is actually to do the join twice. I have to do the join twice because from the orange to the blue, you know, I need to join orange and then green with blue. Okay, so I'm going to start with joining the green into the blue, and this one I want to do the left join. So when I visualize things, I always do left join. So the things that I don't want to, I want to keep always, it's going to be the student ID, because that's the list of students I need to keep the grades to. So that's going to be the left side, and the group is going to go to the student. Okay. Although, as you can see, that the columns that's going to be matching is called student ID. So that is the matching column, so the reference column that I will use. Okay. Although there is some complication that will make things even harder, okay? The thing is that the student ID from the register office and the student ID in Mango actually is not 100% identical. The reason is that there might be student transfer, and we do have it. And actually, this is the case that I found in this particular data, where student transfer from another faculty, and they will have to change the student ID. So the registrar changed the student ID, but Mango's system, for some reason, does not update that. So there will be some of the ID that does not match, okay? And it's really hard to find if you don't use a tool like this. It's actually impossible to find, okay? So that's something that I found during the process of trying to do this, okay? Okay, so once I did that, then I can also try to match the grades, okay, to the groups. Okay, so if I have the student and the groups, then I can match the grades to the groups. Okay, and that will be something, the columns will be called the group key. Okay, so keep in mind that there are some complications because the group key that the student do this and the one that I have here can change. Okay, for example, if the student for some reason go and change the group name in Mango Canva, you know, after I download that file, they can do that too, okay? And maybe I have a different, basically group names, okay? So you'll see that I have to make sure that the group key is constructed such that the 2 files have the same group key, so matching group key, you know, so that's something that, that can be quite challenging if you have to do it also but in Excel, okay? And also there might be complication because I don't really know, okay, that maybe there are some students, and there were students that actually did not belong to any groups because they are too lazy to find groups. And I have to detect who they are too. Okay, so this list is actually not inclusive in any means. Some students might not have groups, some students might, okay? And this is actually during the time where I only grade maybe 1/3 of the groups, okay? So there are 60 groups in total, and I split them into 3 phases, right? This is during the first phase where I grade just the first 20 groups. So the student that does not belong to any groups might be the fact that they might belong to the second phase or the third phase, or they might be lazy because they forgot to or they did not find any groups. So I need to kind of take into account that too. So there are a little bit of stuff that it would be quite hard to do in Excel, I would say. Okay, so that's why I chose this, this tool. So actually, I use this tool all the time, but a lot of things comes up, and it helps me make sure that I don't make mistakes. Okay, so let's see what I did. Okay. Okay, so I will kind of go through the example, okay, because it's kind of a lot. I don't want to be typing things, right? So first of all, I am going to read the data. Okay, so let me just run it. Okay, so first of all, I'm reading in the data. Keep in mind that this one is the roster data. So I'm reading in the blue data. I'm reading this guy over here, okay? And then I'm just plotting them. So student ID would be something that I will use, okay? And usually I just do the info just to make sure that there is no missing data, as you should too in your project, okay? And then, again, very classic, right? Duplicates. So in your project, please check it too, okay? No reason not to do it. Okay, so I have no duplicates, so that's good. Let's continue, okay? The next stuff is I'm reading the student groups, okay? So this one is the green data over here, okay? And I'm gonna match two of this, which using the left join subsequently, okay? Again, I have the student ID, I have the group name, but keep in mind that there are NaN in here, and that's because either the student, I haven't graded them yet because they're in the second phase, or they might be lazy to find groups. So I need to take into account both situations, okay? So if I do the info, I would expect that there will be a lot of entry that is non-null, which is okay, because I expect a lot of names to not have the groups yet, okay? And again, I should check for duplicates too. So there's no reason not to do it. It's very easy. So definitely in your project, okay? All right, so this is the one that I was telling you that usually if I base, if I were to use this group name on here, okay, so you notice that in the file there is the column called group name and group name, okay? But then this two column can differ because of the way that maybe student update this one, and then I forgot to update this one. So the files are actually in different places, and when I update this, I never go back to update this one, or vice versa. So I have to keep in mind that the group names can change. So I need to take care of the fact that they might differ, and usually they don't differ by a lot. They differ by maybe there are extra space, maybe extra dots, usually just extra space, or capitalized or lowercase value. So I have to make sure that they are the same, and the way that I do it is I create another column called the group key. So the group key is going to be a more, formatted name that I make sure that the space is taken care of, the capital letter is taken care of, things like that. And that part comes from this formulas over here. See what I did here? Again, I use apply. This is like an Excel formula, right? But then this one is a little bit more advanced. So I use something called the regular expression. It's a way for you to do the advanced string format. What I did is actually over here. So this part meaning I want to replace this thing. This thing is called the white space. So space, I want to replace the space with just the space, okay? But then this one have a lot of space. So S with the plus meaning that you can have multiple spaces. But then I want to replace all of them with just one space. So I want to get rid of the fact that some people do the double space. So I want to make it into a single space always, okay? And actually this one I just format the group name, not the group key. But again, this is a way that I try to make sure that the name is matching, okay? Also, this is the part where I make the group key, okay? Again, I want to replace the space with just the empty space. That means the empty string, so that means that I get rid of all the space in the name. So make sure that I don't make mistakes by having extra space and then thing doesn't match, okay? So let me show you if I run this one and I run this one. You can see that the group name is actually no longer have space in it. So this way I can make sure that I don't get, like mismatch in the group key by having an unknown or, in like kind of invisible spaces in my name, okay? Okay, and this is the part where I do the merging, okay? So again, I have the roster, okay? So rost.merge, right? And I want to merge with the groups, okay? So this is the part where I was merging this one over here, okay? So this is the part where I do it here, okay? So notice that I actually use multiple columns for references, okay? I want to make sure that the student ID matching, that's a group name and group key and things like that. So take a note how I did it. So I try to make things a little bit more, actually, sorry. I'm merging, but then I only select a couple things from my DF group. So I don't need to use all the columns because that's going to get cluttered very, very soon, okay? And other things is that I can use my student ID as my reference columns, okay? And my left join is always my go-to join, okay? Okay, let's do that, okay? So once I did this, you can see that I have the student ID along with the groups, okay? So that's the part where the first join gonna achieve, right? ID, who's in which groups, okay? Okay, so the next part is actually where I start to do more analysis where, some of the students, I already grade them in the groups, right? But some of them, they haven't presented to me yet because they're in the second phase. So I need to kind of separate students, those who I know that I should grade them and those who I don't need to grade them yet, okay? And that can be, I can use them by section. So usually I do, 2 sections at a time. So I know that I want students in these 4 sections. I think I have about 12 sections in my class. So I'm grading the first 4 sections in here. Okay, so again, the way that I do it is I use the filter, right? This part in particular, I hope that you kind of recognize this one. So this one is the method to return the booleans. Again, this one I'm using the boolean indexing again. I'm just asking, which student is in this particular section. It will give me the answer for all the students, right? And then I can use them in order to filter. Again, in your project, you definitely should, you will probably come across something like this in your project, okay? And then I'm also checking that, if the group name is now, then maybe I should do something about it. So something like this, pretty easy to do in Panda, okay? And I found some lazy person here, okay, one guy, okay? So the fact that I see this guy is a telltale that he belongs to the student that I should grade because he's in the 4 section that I want, but then he doesn't have any groups, okay? And that's the first thing that I need to contact him, or I need to do something about this guy. He doesn't have groups, okay? So what I do next is kind of I need to find the group that is not empty, okay? And then I need to find a student in the group assignment that is not in the roster, okay? So a lot of things that I try to do, for example, I try to make sure that I have groups that not empty, and then I need to locate that particular student, okay? I don't think you need to understand this that much, but there's a logic that I need to do in order to check, who is that guy? But no need to go into the detail what my logic is, okay? And then I'm just gonna get the mismatch ID, okay? So what I did is that I identify who that is. I contact that particular student. It actually turns out that that student actually the transfer student. And then that it was she. So she had to change the student ID. And then there's a mismatch between the student ID in Mango and in register office. So I need to manually correct it, okay? And notice the fact that the nice thing about this is that, even now, a couple of years later, I still remember because this is what I did. I correct that student ID in my file. But notice that I didn't change the raw file. The raw file stayed the same, right? But in my code, I have this document where I change this person ID into, but this one is a fake one, but actually in my real files, I record that because it's in the code. So I know that, whenever I come back here, I made this process, okay? So that's a good documentation. I don't want to miss it, okay? So I did change it, okay? Change the student ID, okay? And then I make sure that I had the right indices. So this one, this one is where I change it, okay? So I did remember that, okay? And then I go back into my roster and check if there's person who is not empty, then I should have to do something about it. So I take care of the student that has mismatched student ID, okay, by this process, okay? And then I think I check the empty groups too, okay? So there are one more guys, I think, who still have problem. And I think this one, I remember that I think he has some problem with the group name or something, I don't remember, but I fixed the student. So I asked him, what is your group again? And then I changed it. So in my original files, I have two places where I actually document the things that I changed in my students. So first is student ID and also the student groups, okay? I don't remember the detail of how it comes about, but then the nice thing about this is that I have something to remind me later, okay? So yeah, I remember changing the groups like this in order to make sure that all the students belongs to the right groups, okay? And then I goes back to the merge, okay? And then I make sure that nobody is missing any groups here, okay? So by this point, I can be pretty sure that all of my students that I'm supposed to grade will have the groups, so that when I match the group, then they will have the score, okay? So that's the part where I need to make sure, okay? All right, so I just do the head just to make sure that everything's correct, right? And then the next part is where I actually read in the group grades. Okay, so that is this part over here, right here. Okay, so once actually the harder part is actually already done. So next, I'm just gonna see this is the group and this is the grade. There's a grade over here. Okay. And then actually I have to format the group name one more time because the group name can be a little bit different from the one I download from Mango. So I do some slight formatting in the group names. And then I make the group key without the space and all the lower cases in English, okay? And then the last part is actually not too bad. I'm just gonna merge them, okay? But then I merge them using the group key that I made because I don't wanna be missing spaces and then keep looking for what I missed. So I use the merging and then I use the group key as the columns, reference column, okay? And then lastly, I have to check whether all the students have the grade. So this one meaning that all the students that's supposed to have grades will have grades, okay? And then the last thing is I just print out to Excel, okay? There you go. Okay, so let's see what I have in the end after I run this one, okay? Like that, okay, so you will see that I have a bunch of students in here, right? But then not all of them supposed to have grades or groups because they're in the different section where I haven't graded them yet because it's not the time. Right? But only the one that's supposed to have names, grades, and groups will actually have that number, and then they'll have the score. Where's the scores in here? Actually, the score is gone. I'm not. Oh, maybe I forgot to run it or something. Let me try. Let me see again. Let me just run the whole thing again. Maybe I forgot to run something. I'm not sure. You know what? It's all gone. I don't know why. Okay. All right, so maybe there's something missing when I was reporting the data, I'm not sure. But in my original file, there's supposed to be stuff in here, but maybe the join is failing. Okay, so it's not the problem here. Maybe when I was porting this file to this folder, maybe I missed something, I'm not sure. Okay, I have to go check. But I just want you to see that actually this file, with this workflow, I just have to do it once, but then I can repeat this thing 3 times, because I have to grade my student in 3 phases. So after the first one, I can report the grade for those who need it, right? And then when the second batch of group came, I rerun this thing again. I get, more people, and then I report on Mango, and then when the last one, then I can do this. So this one allows me to, be able to keep the score updates and, and I can kind of rest assured that I don't give the student the wrong grades. Okay, so that would be kind of workflow that I have. So and this year I also use it again. Like I just reuse this one every year. So once I did this, so the first time takes me a couple hours, I would say. It's not too soon, not too quick. But for this year, super easy. I just rerun it. So very, very useful. Okay. But I'm supposed to see the score here. I don't know why. Probably something with the columns and the join. I'm not sure. But I don't want to be debugging in front of you. It's kind of waste of time. Okay. Okay. So the next one that I want to show you is the project. Okay, that I work with the company. Maybe the small company that needs to check employee attendance. So this company has about 15 employees, I should say maybe 20, up to 20, because there's 15 in the office, and then there are more in the factory. So this is the drinking company, okay? And typically when you the system for attendance is usually the fingerprints. You have to do the scan in the morning and in the evening when you go out, right? And the data that you can take out from the machine, usually you do it every month. So the human resource staff need to download the data from the machine at the end of the month in order to check for attendance, and that will go into the salary calculation. So it's pretty important that you do this correctly, because money stuff can be quite can give a lot of problems, right? People is pretty strict about money, right? So this is the example of how the data would be, right? So you have the name, okay, and then there's a dates in here, and then that will be the time that the fingerprint was scanned. So as you can imagine that on the day, usually there will be 2 scans. So the rule is, you came in the morning, scan 1 time, and then once before you leave, right? So typically you would have something that happened around, I don't know, 9 or 8 or 9, and then they go back home at around 7 or 8. So depending on the shift, so some people come in at 8, some people come in at before 9, and usually they stay for 8 to 9 hours, okay? So the goal is we want to determine for each employee, like this data, right? I want to know the number of days present in a month, okay? I want to know if they're actually missing any days. That's going to reduce their salary, okay? And I want to know, the day that they came in, what would be the working duration, so how many hours per day that each employee comes to work, okay? And if sometimes they work late than usual, right? I mean, I want to calculate how much overtime they have in total per month, right? And sometimes they have late check-in and early check-out. So I want to know if, this person usually come in late or goes home early, okay? And, for example, there are things like this where, I don't know, for some reason, the data is not present. So there's only the check-in, but no check-out, this guy over here. So I want to make sure that this doesn't happen very often. So I want to record, how many incomplete check-in and check-out per person per month. So that if somebody consistently have the incomplete check-in and check-out, then I think that might be intentional. So if it's couple ones per month, that should be okay. But if it's consistently every month, then maybe there's something you need to take some action as the owner, okay? So, there are a lot of things that you can extract out of this seemingly very simple data, right? And you can see that it's get quite ridiculous pretty soon, okay? So let's do it, okay? Okay, so I want to show you that there are some complications, okay? So first of all, there can be the day that there's no check-in, okay? And this one can be either the holiday or he's completely missed the day. Okay, so two things can happen, okay? And there is also kind of like, I think this one might be some, I don't know, mistakes where this person come in at midnight. So I think we're just going to disregard that. So there are some data that needs to be clean, for example, something like this, okay? And there also can be, and again, I was mentioning about the missing check-in and check-out, right? So this person only check-in in the morning, but I don't know, for some reason, intentionally or not, he forgot to check out, okay? So I want to record how many times there are incomplete check-in and check-out per month, okay? Okay, and again, there can also be something like this too, okay? Where there are multiple check-out, but one check-in, okay? So the algorithm is to be able to take into account where there are, an odd number of check-ins. How do we do this, okay? And I'm just going to tell you right out that there are many ways to do it depending on how strict the company is going to be. But for me, the way that I'm going to do it is actually I'm going to take the minimum in terms of the date and the time, and then the maximum of the time. So I'm giving the benefit of the doubt that, whenever he's doing something like this, the actual time that the employee go out is actually the later one. So I give them, the more lenient way of calculation. So some people, some company might be stricter, right? Some company might say that if you do this, I'm going to take the one that is shorter, so that you don't game the system where you, I don't know, just do multiple checkout and things like that. Okay, so depending on the policy, but I'm using a more lenient algorithm where I just do min and max in terms of the time. Okay. Is there anything else I can do? Okay, and this is the one I'll remember. Okay, and I forgot to show you that some people forgot to check out, some people forgot to check in. Okay, so there are a couple of things that you need to make sure that's taken care of. Okay, so right off the bat, and I would say that this company has used Excel for a long time, and this one would take the whole day, one staff the whole day to figure this thing out, because they have 20 person, so there's many rows in here. Okay, and they don't get all the things in here. Like, for example, all they do is actually just calculate the first two. That's all. Then it takes a whole day. Okay, so I want to reduce this process to like 5 seconds, but then got all the information. Okay, so that's my job. All right. Okay, so before we do that, I'd like to also go over something that I haven't told you. So this one, I think some of you that work with time series might be interested. Okay, so the time, how do we work with time? Because time, it's a little bit more challenging than the normal data type. Okay, so let me kind of go over that. Okay, so whenever you want to work with date and time, so first of all, the things that you don't want to do is use string, right? If you say that the, today is equal to, I don't know, maybe today it's going to be 9th of March, right? 9th of March 2026, and then this is going to be at 5 p.m. Okay. This is not what you want to do, because this one doesn't give you, I mean, it tells you what time, a date and time it is, but you cannot use it for any more calculation because it's just a string. Okay, you cannot compare which one comes first. You cannot format it into different ways. You cannot do some algebraic manipulation on it, like subtract the duration and things like that. So this one, not recommending, right? So what you want to do is actually to create something called the date time, okay? So this one is I think it's a class, okay? Although I don't know why it's not the capital letter, okay? But it's a class called date time. There's a class called date. There's a class called time, and there's also a class called time delta. And these are all imported from the date time library. So this is the standard library in Python. Okay, so if you came across this, just keep in mind that it is a way for you to store time, dates, and time in a more, I guess, ready for calculation manner. Okay. All right, so if I were to do this, then you can imagine that if I print it, then you will see that there's dates and times in it. But you have a lot more flexibility in handling this data. Okay? For example, I can parse the dates and time. So parse meaning that I can create the date time from the string. So this would be something that I would use. For example, if I import the data from Excel and I have a column that looks like dates and time in string, I would parse them. Parse meaning that convert the string back into something that is like object format. Okay? And again, if you work with Panda, there will be something called pd.datetime that you need to convert it into if you work with time series. You know, some of the group use time series, okay? So this one, I'm saying that there is the dates in here, and I want to make sure that this one goes into my object with this correct format. So this one is the placeholder for year, month, and date. So when you parse it, if you can give them the template like this, it's always the best way. Okay, so again, I can print it like this. Okay, and again, even if I only have the date, right, but the time is actually encoded in there. So if you don't give them the time, then it will just be midnight. Okay. And again, once I have the date time in my object, right, I can always put it back into my string. So this is particularly nice when you want to output your data. Okay. For example, feel free to change this one. Okay, I can change it into a dash format like this. It will change it. Okay, I can even make it different. Like I can make underscores in here, right? And this is how you kind of like generate back or format the string from the date time objects. Okay, so feel free to change it, but keep the percent sign the same. Okay, because that's kind of like the placeholder for each of the fields. Okay, something like that. Okay, and once you have date time, okay, you can work with date. Okay, so this is date time, but you can also have date too. Okay, so date is the data that does not contain time. It only have date. Okay, if I print them, there will be something like this. Okay, so you might be interested in using this one if the time doesn't make sense. Okay, and if you are pretty sure that you don't need the time, then maybe date it's kind of what you need. So Python allows you to just keep the date like that. Okay, and even if you and there might be some time where you don't even need the date, you just need the time. So there's actually also a time object for you. Okay, and this one I use it too in my code because sometimes I don't need to know the date yet. I just need to know the clock in time and the clock out time, and that's where I use the time object. Okay, and again, if I do this, then this will just say that this is 7 a.m. and that's it. Okay. Okay, and then there's a date time, date, and time. And these are the representation of a given point in time. Okay. But then once you start to do some algebraic manipulation like subtracting things, like you have two dates, you want to subtract them, then what you got out of it is actually something called the time delta. So time delta, it's actually representing the duration of time, like duration of 1 day, 1 hour, a minute, and things like that. So I can do the time delta that representing the duration of 1 day. Okay, and then once you do this, then I can have the method called the total seconds. So if you ever wondered how many seconds in a day, then you can use this one. So about 800,000, right? Actually 86,000, not 800,000, okay? Seconds in a day, something like that, okay? So time delta, okay? So again, if I have a fixed point in time like this, right? I can also do manipulation with the duration and I get another date, okay? So this one, for example, I have this particular date. I want to add one day into it, then what would it be, right? The answer should be 2024, the second month, and then number 2, which is the second day of the month. So let's see if that's the case, okay? Yeah, that's right, right? So you can increment the date by do some algebraic process with the time delta, something like that. And this one works the same thing with Panda too. So Panda will have the date time. You have the, it's called period. It doesn't call time delta, it's called the Panda period. But same concept, okay? Okay, and also I can show you that I can subtract time because this one is, I use them in my code later on where I have the clock in, right? And I have the clock out time. And then I want to have the difference between the clock in and the clock out, which is going to be the total seconds, okay? So this one, it allows me to calculate how many minutes they are coming to work each day, something like that, by just subtracting the time. It looks a little bit different because this one is a time, so I have to convert them into time delta and then do some kind of manipulation. But that's kind of the detail, okay? But the upshot for this is that I'm working with dates and time object in Python. I don't do strings anymore, okay? All right, and with that, let's do attendance. Okay, so first of all, I want to read them in. So this one is for 1 month only. Okay, so I'm reading them in and just do that. Okay, again, as you can see, this is one person, right? But there are many, many more. Let's see how many rows there are. Okay, so there are about 400 rows. So again, not too many, right? But then this one actually take, a staff like a whole day to do this. So it's not trivial by any means, okay? All right, so first of all, I need to rename. Okay, so rename is something that I use a lot at the beginning. Just want to make sure that I can have something consistent. So I want to rename, in particular, I want to rename this one to C1, C2, and C3. I hate the column name that is a number. I want it to be string, so I just change it into like C1, C2, C3 because string as a column name makes more sense, not the number. Number is still really, really weird. Okay, so I change them. All right, so I change the data that has the column name like this. Okay. Again, I want to check the duplicates. Okay, so there's no duplicates, so that's good. Okay. And then this is the part where I actually check that the column is all null. For example, I want to check if this is true. This part right here. This part. So I want to check if, if there's no attendance data, then I don't need to process it. So I'm just going to remove it. Okay, so that's the part where I do this. So notice what I did here, right? So I'm using the 3 columns, right? I want to check the 3 columns, right? And I want to check each null, and then all of them, okay? And all of this gives me same thing, right? It gives me the Boolean index, and then I can use them to filter my data, okay? I'm just telling that, give me the row that has at least one things in it, okay? In terms of the attendance, okay? All right, and this is the part where I use the formula that called parse date, okay? So keep in mind that the date that are represented in here is in Thai calendar, right? To 2567, so that's Thai calendar. But in Python, it would make more sense to do it in the Christian calendar. So I have to do something about it, okay? So first I'm gonna parse it, okay? But then I don't want to parse it directly. I want to make sure that the year is actually taken care of. Okay, so what I did is actually I split the date by the slash, right? And then I extract the last part and I subtract by 543. So you guys know that the Thai year and the Christian year differed by 543. So I subtract them first before I parse them, okay? And again, this one, I'm actually using Panda date time. So I don't use Python per se, but in actually Panda, it's actually based on Python date time. So the command or the argument looks kind of familiar, right? I'm passing things like this, and I'm using the format like this. Okay, so I'm making sure that they know what the format is. They can parse them correctly, okay? And then once I have this formula in Excel, like an Excel formula, then I can just convert the date like this. Okay, so this part is where I apply that formula to the date that has become string, and then I convert everything back into the dt.date. So now my columns is actually the date object. So that's make it nicer to work with. Okay, so and I kind of make sure that my data type is actually datetime.date. So that's the part where I show you above, right? You can create the date like this. Okay. Okay, and next up is I want to make sure that all of the clock in time become the time data. Okay, so this part again the same thing. I want to convert things into the time. Okay, that's it. All right. And again, so once I do this, it might look similar, but actually all of this is actually the objects now. Like this is not string anymore, like including this too. Okay, so all of this can be manipulated in a more a flexible way, I would say. No longer it's a strings. Okay. Okay. Next up is I want to take care of the hour that is outside the range. So this one, for example, there are more actually. Okay, so first I want to say that if I have the hour that is outside my range, for example, I think I use something like 3 a.m. in the morning, or I don't remember. So see, so I'm saying that if there is the time where it's earlier than 6 a.m. and later than 10 p.m., then I'm going to filter all of this out. Okay, so get rid of all the rows that has, the hours outside the range. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so as you can see that there are 4 rows that apply to this one. Again, if you have to look into Excel and find them all, that would be pretty hard to do. But I can identify some of the rows, like all the rows that I don't want to work with because it's not meaningful. Okay. Okay, and then I'm going to filter out the one that I don't want. Okay. Next up is I want to make sure that I don't have this guy where it's incomplete like this, incomplete checkout, incomplete check-in. So this one I'm going to count the number of this and I make sure that it's not equal to 1. So if it's 1, then I know that it's incomplete. Okay. So this one is finding the incomplete check-in and check-out. Okay. And what do I want to do with this guy right here, for example? Okay. So what I want to do is actually I'm going to be more lenient where if somebody just give me the check-in time, I'm going to give them the checkout time that is 9 hours, 8 hours. Okay. So I'm going to give them 5 p.m. in here just for the benefit of the doubt that maybe he's forgetting. Okay. And if they forget to check in and only check out like this, I'm going to give this person the check-in time that is 8 p.m. This one should be 8 a.m. something like that. So I want to make sure that my data have both check-in and check-out. And for those who is incomplete, I'm giving them the remaining check-in and check-out, but I'm actually keeping track of this guy because now he has the incomplete check-in, check-out flagged in my columns. Okay, so I give them the benefit of the doubt, but I actually count the number of the incomplete for each person too. Okay, so let me show you how I did this. Okay, so I'm checking for the incompletes, right? Right, and then I'm adding the time back. Okay, so this one is a little bit more complex because some people leaving at 5, some people leaving at coming in at 9. So there are a little bit of a logic to do. But in the end, I can just apply this formula again. So this one, as you can see that once you start to have a more complex logic, like working in Excel is pretty hard. But in Python, I can just do, like as complex of a logic as I can. And all I need to do in the end is just apply it to my columns like this. Okay, so like that. Okay. And just to show you what I had in here is that once I have I have appending all the incompletes in and out, then I actually create a new column saying that, this particular line has a true, which is I'm flagging them. So then in the end, I can count, how many, for each person, how many days do they have incomplete check-in and check-out. So I'm gonna, as you can see that once I try to do this, I'm gonna create more columns in here in order to make sure that I have all the data that I need before the total aggregations. Okay. Okay. And this part is when I calculate the in and out. Okay, so let's see what I did here. Okay, see, for this one, for example, I calculate the min and the max. So I guess this one come from here. Okay, this one from here, and then this one come from here. Okay, so for the normal situation where there's only 2 in and out, that should be easy. But again, my logic also apply where there is the double check-in and double check-out. So if there's a 3 in it, I only do min and max so that my in and out is always going to have, just the one that I can use later on. Okay. Okay. And then once I have analyzed, which time is the in and out, then I can say whether it's late or not late, right? So this one 9 or 6 p.m., right? And then again, I will create more column saying that for each of the row, is it coming in late or is it out early, right? For example, like this guy, he gets flagged for coming in late and coming out early for this particular day. Okay, so as you can see that you create more and more columns, okay? And then what is this? I need to do this one. I think it should be, okay, I'm calculating, wait, what is this? Did I forget something here? Float object has no attribute hour. Okay. I don't remember this. I don't recall this error. So let me just run again. Let's see if that's. Okay, so I think I might forgot to run a cell or something. Okay, but anyway, let's do this. Okay, so again, this one I think I calculate the time that okay, maybe I go a little bit too fast. Oh no, I get this one. Okay, so and then once I have the in and out time, I can start to do some couple more things like what is the time that they came in late. What's the time that they came out early, right? And then I can subtract them to get the working minutes per day. And I can say that how many times they actually overworked and things like that. So, once you start to identify some of the columns that you have, and then you can start to calculate more things like this, okay? Okay, and I think this one, I just more columns, I think, yeah, something like that. Okay, I don't remember, but okay, and do the working durations, okay? Okay, oh, okay, I remember now because I run everything at once, so it becomes, you see all the columns, okay? So in the end, I'm just gonna go through them because it's kind of long, but in the end, I can kind of work out, what is all the information that I got per day for each person, right? So once I'm here, then I'm almost done, but this is the time that they check in. But then there are also the days that might be holidays or can be the day that they're just absent, right? So this data is actually incomplete, right? The date is actually can be missing depending on, if they come in, every day or not, right? So what I did in the end is actually to do the join one more time. Okay, so check this check this technique, okay? So what I did is actually, I have the records of the process data where the employee comes in, right? But they don't have, but then it only contains the date that they come in. But then I need to have the complete dates for the month. So I'm creating another data frame that contains the column called the date. And this is going to be the date for the whole month, regardless of whether it's a holiday or not. And then I'm doing the left join. So I can also do the left join on the date variables too, not just the string, right? So I'm saying that if the date is matching, please join the data, the check-in data, to the date in the calendar. Okay, so that way I know, what day the employee is absent. So this is how I do it, left join. Okay. All right, so that's how I do it. So I get the working day during the month. Okay, so I'm just saying that give me the weekdays in the month. Okay, and I'm just gonna run it, and then I'm gonna match them. So the join, I think it's gonna go here. This is the join. Okay, so this is the part where I join the attendance with the working date in the calendar. Okay, and then this one's gonna tell me which date is absent for each of the employee. Okay, and then I also create another column called present and absent, just to make sure that I can sum them in the end. Okay, so a lot of things can in here, but in the end, just for a simple check-in and check-out data, you see how much stuff that I can get out from here. There's so many things, right? And once I can get everything out in here, then all the things that I do in the end is actually the group by. Again, this one, your friends, right? Once you have all the data, but then you need to calculate the data separated by the employee, right? In Excel, you would have to do separate sheets, but in Panda, all you do is just say group by. And then I want to see all of this, summation of all the things that I have. So I want to sum all the day that employee is present in the month, right? The day that they're absent. And also, I can even do my custom data where I want to do the working duration, but I want to do it in hours. So I divide it by 60 too. Okay, so it's very flexible ways of doing this. Okay, so let me show you how the results in here. Okay, so with that, I can collect all the employees, right? And then all of them, I know how many days they are present. Okay, so in a month, there should be like 24 and 25 days. So most of them come in, right? But then there are certainly the missing days for them. So they are absent, right? So this one will affect their salary. And then I know that, the mean of the working duration per day. So I'm expecting something like 9 hours because it includes the lunch time. Okay, so if I see something that is less than 9 hours, this employee needs to be, we need to look into more details, all right? I see it overworked, right? And this one too. Some employees has a lot of incomplete check-in and check-out. So this one, maybe she forgot or maybe it's intentional, I'm not sure, but you can, you should do something about it, right? And then some people usually come in late. Okay, you can see that this person come in late, or this one. Okay, so collecting over the total month, she come in late for like 2 hours or almost 3 hours. Okay, and out early, things like that. Okay, so something like this can be run in 5 seconds now. So, and then other things that I can do is I can do the pivot. Okay, so again, pivot is when you want to change things so this one I want to make sure I make it in a way that I have the date on the horizontal axis and then the name, right? And then I can do more details where if I want to see which day the employee is absent, I can always check this one out too. Okay, do the pivot with the date. Okay. And also I can do another pivot with this one. I don't know. So this one is the present. Okay. And then this one is the working date. Okay, so this is the hour per day for each employee for the whole month. So something like that. Okay. Okay, and then I write everything to to Excel. So in the end, after I run everything, just taking just a couple seconds here, I can analyze the whole thing, and you can see that this is really, really useful for analysis. Okay, so first of all, I have the summary of all the employees in here, so I can look at the whole picture. But then I also have the details where for each of the day, I want to track how much. I think this one is overwork. Okay, so OT, this is the OT time. Okay, and then the day that are present. Okay, and the day and the working hour per day. Okay, and actually there's a lot more that I can do, but I kind of stop here because it's kind of too much. But this is kind of the power of automation. If you can do something like this, then maybe you can save yourself a lot of time, or save other people's a lot of time. So it might be something to look at. Okay, but again, this one takes me some time. I would say 5 to 6 hours to do. So not fast by any means, but once I do this, every month become much easier. Okay. Okay, so that would be my example. Okay.